And welcome to another fabulous episode of the PoddiMouths podcast. So
Wow.
I'm sorry, John. I did that just because we weren't saying anything funny. The last thing we were talking about before I hit record was taxes, and there ain't nothing fun about taxes.
No, absolutely not. But of course, we have to keep that in mind because tax day is approaching muy rápido.
Muy rápido. And I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends at least, have already done their taxes. I was a little bit of a slacker this year and waited until the weekend.
But you do use yourself.
I do mine. I do complete my taxes myself. Yes, I've been doing that for the last, 4 or 5 years.
And what did you do before that?
Well, I had an accountant. First of all, Jen's mom is an accountant, so we had her do our taxes for a few years until she didn't want to handle it anymore because they were a little bit too complex. Because just random things we can talk about later, but it's too much for her. And before that, we had a family accountant that did all of our taxes for us.
So I want to explore that more because you had Jen's mom doing taxes for you. Is it like getting a little too close when your
not
family?
For me. It might be for Jen, but not for me. I'm pretty much, I will tell anybody, much to the chagrin of our employers. I don't care. I don't care if people know what I make. I don't know why I'm so open about stuff like that, but I'm really, I could give a shit. I could give two shits.
Well, I don't use, we use a person out of town because in a small town, and again, I don't think any tax preparer or a CPA or whatever, I'm sure they have a code of ethics they have to follow, but I'm just not sure I want it
known by anyone local.
Town. Yeah. Have somebody doing their taxes. So
well, if it makes you feel any better, she didn't live in town. She's about 4.5 hours away. So who's she going to tell?
That's awesome. But when you're trying to write off condoms and stuff, I'm thinking that's probably going to be a troublesome topic.
Well, we were married, so,
yeah,
it's a lot easier to write things like that off when you're married or filing jointly.
Batteries I'm just saying that there are things that could be sort of touchy, And
well, it's on a serious note. When we were talking about that, it was probably less touchy there than it is for my wife and daughter who are in the house while I'm doing taxes and throwing things and swearing. And it's really the only time I get really riled up about anything.
Then why do you do them?
I don't know. And originally it was because of the cost. So the family accountant would do my taxes separately once I was out of the house, an adult. So I would pay him separately.
Right.
And he was right around $350, $400, depending on my taxes that year.
Okay.
When I was a young kid, I'm doing air quotes.
Yes.
When I was a young kid, that was extremely expensive. And I couldn't afford it. So that's why I started doing my own taxes because they were simple. It wasn't like I was selling stock or buying a lot of houses. And it was just pretty straightforward. I was a W-2 employee. You do your W-2s. You use the minimum deduction or the maximum deduction or whatever that is because I don't have any deductions. I'm not going back to school or anything. So it was really easy. And TurboTax, not to name any names, they are not a sponsor, but they offered at the time free taxes for federal. And living in Tennessee, we don't pay state taxes, so we don't have to file a state tax return.
Perfect.
So it was free for the longest time. That being said, this year, and this was the most it's ever cost, but this year it still cost me $260 to do my taxes because now it's getting more complex and I want to make sure I have that protection that TurboTax offers. So I end up paying anyways. So this year I was kind of going, maybe this will be the last year. If it's going to cost me that much every year and I can get a CPA to do it for me, might just do the money that way.
And so ours was, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn with our accountant. I won't mention his name, but he's awesome. And when we love them and their firm just does great work. It's a guy who founded the firm and his son. And I think they have one other partner as well. But just just good guys, smart, good investing, so on. 400 some dollars. It was
Yeah.
not that much money. I was, and for what we do, it's not a lot. And as you said, I didn't, well, this next year we will have bought and sold a house, but, and I actually did sell some stock last year, but it's complex enough that I don't feel like doing it.
Right.
And if you're doing it and it bugs you and you're
Oh,
still
it's
paying 250 or
well,
whatever.
because on the TurboTax screen, and this is the part, I'm a cheap bastard. I,
What?
I I'd like to spend money, but I like to spend money where I want to spend money, and
Yep,
taxes is not where I want to spend money. And as I'm
agree.
watching, because here's the thing, you and I are W-2s, employees. PoddiMouths does not yet make enough money for us to have to report it on
What?
taxes. The
Oh, that's right.
whopping, $12 that we made this year. Um, so we're W-2 employees. I put my stuff in, I'm getting money back, right? Then I put my wife's stuff in, who she is W-2 part-time, but then runs her own business on the other side, which doesn't make enough money for us to pay taxes quarterly, but does make enough money to make a difference and completely take out all of my return.
Oh, right.
And we try to get, and last year we did a really good job. We were within, I think I said $50 the last time we talked about it. But somewhere around $50 that we had to pay in. I
Mhm.
was happy with that. I was okay
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
This year, I was watching that number keep climbing. $100, $200, $1,000, $2,000. Got it
Oh,
up to $4,500 that we owed,
oh,
and I'm flipping out.
yeah.
Ultimately, after all the expenses and stuff, putting everything back in line and walking through every single step twice just to make
Yep.
sure, I did get it down to $2,200, but that's still
Still,
$2,200.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't want to, I mean, ideally, if you can figure it out the right way, I hear people, oh, we had a huge return, 4,000, some blah, blah, blah. And I think you just loaned the government
Yep,
$4,000
exactly.
over the course of most of that year. And I want it to be as close to zero as possible, because then that we've kind of planned it correctly. And
Yep.
happily, I think we got 1,000 or so back federal this year. So it worked out for us. That's pretty close. So
Yeah,
I
that's good.
didn't complain too much. But man, having to pay in, and I used to have to pay in, so I know what you're talking about. That
Oh
is
yeah,
not
it's
not
not
good.
fun at all. Not
No.
fun at all. I hate it.
Yeah.
Uh, and you know what? I'm not speaking ill of our family accountant. Love them to death. They were family friends of ours. My mom and my stepdad actually got married at their cabin in Wisconsin.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean he was Mike is his name. I'm not going to give the last name because that'll give away the agency or the firm. But
We
Mike,
can figure it out, I bet.
maybe,
Mike is
yeah, a
his
Mike in
last name is a
Minnesota. Yeah,
firm.
go for it.
That
Go.
probably narrows it way down.
Right. But Mike was the executor of both Murray and my mom's estate. So that's how close we were. And,
That's
and,
awesome.
and they're very good. But, when my mom passed away, she had put, and I don't know why she did this. I'll never do this in my own, thought process. She rolled everything, insurance, her 401k, everything into an IRA, which IRAs, if you pull the money out, you get taxed on. It doesn't matter if it's a death benefit or not. Any other investment, you don't have to pay tax because it's a death benefit, right?
Right.
So she rolled everything into an IRA. So I had to pay taxes on it. Well, I took multiple
Disbursements.
disbursements. Thank you. Multiple disbursements. And I wanted to pay tax on all of them. One of them, for some reason, and this wasn't my accountant's fault necessarily, but one of the disbursements, they checked the wrong box and I didn't take the taxes out. So the confusing part, though, was now they have to send the accountant multiple 1099s for the disbursements because I did it all in 1 year. One of them didn't make it, happened to be the big one that I didn't pay taxes on. So I go, I'm happy. We, use it, buy a house, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Then we get this nasty gram from the IRS 2 years later that said,
Oh.
oh, by the way, you owe us this plus penalties plus this. You owe us $45,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I had to pay in that year.
Huh. Yeah, I guess. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the last year I used that account, and I started doing it on my own after that.
So just as an aside on that stuff, and you hear all the ads all the time about these companies that will reduce the amount that you have to pay the IRS. If you have over $10,000 in IRS debt, call us and blah, blah, blah.
You don't need to do that.
Huh?
You don't need to do that. I did it on my own, and I got it reduced way down.
You absolutely can do it on your own.
It's not hard.
It's not. However, there are some times when the IRS will just not negotiate. And right. If they feel you have the income, or let's just say wherewithal, to pay them back, they won't let go.
Oh, no. They'll put you in jail.
They will wait. Well, they won't do that because it affects their chance of getting the money if you're in jail. However,
okay,
it depends what it is. It's possible, of course. However,
just ask Wesley Snipes.
But snakes on a plane. It's much more likely that they will continue to track you and follow you until you pay them.
Oh, absolutely.
And they will outlast you.
Oh yeah.
They will get it somewhere.
They will get it somewhere, and dying is not an appropriate way out either, because they'll come after whoever's next.
Bankruptcy, nor is anything else.
Yep.
And
they want their money.
With them, and I will say I learned my lesson, but it was, I was under the impression that, I'm sure they'll reduce. Well, not when your income is high enough so that they, think they can get the money one way or another.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's most of those companies are just out to bilk you for more money.
Oh,
and
100%.
They'll tell you what you should know anyway. And that is that you can settle if they allow you to settle. You can make an offer in compromise, and they'll listen to your story.
Oh, absolutely.
So anyway,
and that's the moral of the story right now. If you're honest and you're upfront, and it truly was a mistake, which in my case it was, you can negotiate, and you can negotiate quite a bit depending on your situation. And
yes,
I was not making very much money at the time, so that did help.
You're so lucky.
Yeah, I know, but we were reduced from 5 zeros down to 4 zeros. So,
well, that's way better.
Yeah. Yep.
But still, 4-0 sucks.
4-0 sucks. But then we did a payment plan and paid awesome. Like $200 a month for 2 years.
And you can do it. And that's it. So that is the message. I won't get into great detail, but in a situation with the IRS of a higher value. And that was, it was a difficult situation, but we cleaned it up, and now we're straight and narrow.
Exactly.
And it's wonderful, and they love us again.
Yeah. And well, the funny thing is you're making that statement. I always like to think, or the first thing that pops into mind is, and his name just left my brain. Famous gangster from Chicago.
Al Capone.
Al Capone. Thank you.
Sure.
Al Capone was not caught and was not charged with murder or racketeering, anything. He was charged with tax evasion.
That's correct. And that's the only one that stuck.
That's the only one that stuck.
He was charged actually prior to that that's the basis of the movie The Untouchables, which was actually a pretty good movie.
Oh, very good movie.
If you remember that. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Costner?
Yeah, it was one of his better roles. But Andy Garcia, I think, was my favorite. Remember, he was the sharpshooter.
Yeah,
and he grabbed the baby carriage, and he's got the gun pointed at the guy in the bus station or train station, and he says, "You got him?" He says, "I got him." He says, "Take him," and he blew the guy away. Okay, movie side aside, but it was great movie, and that's exactly what happened. He got nailed for tax evasion. And
you can. What's the moral of the story there? You can do anything you want. Just make sure you pay your taxes. I have honestly heard a lot of people say that. You can do anything you want as long as you pay your taxes.
Just pay your taxes. Yeah.
The best police force out there.
I'm not sure I would say the anything you want, but I would certainly say pay your taxes.
Yeah, definitely.
No doubt.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's it can be a stressful season for some people, and ours are happily already done. But you know what I find weird, and this is since you brought it up, is the whole W-2 thing at the end of the year.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
used to be, I thought, that you were required to receive them by the end of January.
No, they're
And
just required to send them by the end of January.
oh well, that still doesn't happen. I mean, I've gotten some at the end of March.
Okay, well, that's in some companies may do it wrong, or what they might do is say they had corrected ones sent out later. But really,
Well,
what
and
happens
let's
is
be clear, our company does it. I mean, obviously, they're a huge company and they
absolutely,
have it organized and they do it fine. But
yep,
it's like well, one of the charities that we give to consistently it is they are late. It seems like with their
yeah.
receipt, and it's not a W-2, but
No, it's a
it's a receipt for giving.
1095 or 1090. It says 1095, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I call my
Yeah,
accountant and ask him.
there you go. So I know not our company in particular, but I know there are larger companies that because they publish the W-2 in their payment, their paycheck company, whatever it is, ADP, Paycor, whatever it is,
Mhm.
because they publish it there and they do it before the end of the month, that counts as having it
Ah,
submitted to
got it.
and then
So
they
they
can,
make an entry before the end of the month. Yeah,
right.
it's not that big a deal. It's not, again, however, we had turned our taxes over to the accountant already and had everything turned in and ready to go. And then this laggard charity came in and it made a difference in what we were getting back.
Right.
And so, and it wasn't a huge amount or anything, but they had to redo the numbers
Yeah.
because it came in late. So,
Yeah.
whatever.
So do
But it
you
came
ever
in.
hit the minimum deduction or go past it?
I don't know. I don't care.
The
You want my
accountant does it?
accountant's phone number? You just
Yeah,
call them and
sure.
ask.
I'll just call him
Yeah.
up
So
right now. I need to
what was
know
John's
him.
adjusted gross income list?
Well, I just need to know because I need to know how much to pay you once we actually get this up and running,
How about half?
half, half. That's pretty good. That's a good
Are we going
idea.
to do the 80-20 thing again, Nick?
Oh yeah, I get 80, you get 20. No, I get 20, you get 80. That's right.
No, no, no.
No, so what was I going to say? I've completely blanked on that one.
Come on. Why do you keep blanking? Al Capone.
Because I'm looking at your face and your face
My
confuses
face
me.
is very handsome. And of course, I'm making faces because you would,
Yeah,
listeners.
exactly. Oh, he just pulled off his hat.
But I put it back on.
Thank God.
I just wanted to remind you
What
that I have
happens
hair.
on the weekend?
You
Oh, fuck you very much.
don't. You do actually. You've got the side tan.
I do, and I got a haircut today.
All right.
Yeah, it's my favorite barber. Have I ever told you about this guy?
Oh, it's a guy.
Yeah,
All right.
his name's Nick.
Okay, so we won't hold that
It's
against.
in a it's a really unique barber shop. It's in a master bathroom inside of my house.
Wow.
That was a big
I
setup
wouldn't
for
believe
not a
that
good
there's
punchline,
some
right?
guy named Nick. Oh, and it's in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Is he like the valet?
Very much so. He
I'd
parks
like
the
a
car
mint
all the
and a
time.
toothpick, and I want you to take a little off the sides.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. You do your hair yourself. I never would have guessed.
It's not very difficult when you don't have very much.
When I lost mine, I found that to be true.
Yeah.
But you know the benefits. I wear a stocking cap or whatever, and I never had to worry about. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, that's the best part.
You don't have to dink with your hair. You don't have
exactly. If I get up in the morning, I think I love it because I don't have to take a shower if I don't want to. Even though I still feel absolutely gross, I don't look gross because no one can tell the difference. My hair's not messy. I don't have bed head. It's wonderful. It's fabulous.
So I went to a barber. Well, it was an actual barber shop, they called it. It was in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. And I think it was actually called The Barbers or something like that. Anyway, went in, got a haircut. The guy it was a dude, did a reasonable job. And they actually had the spinning stripey pole,
that's
like
fun.
a barbershop sort of thing. So that was cool. But at some point, he grabs scissors and starts trimming my nose hairs.
Oh, wow. That's a full service.
Well, apparently, and I he didn't massage my shoulders or anything, but if you've ever had that done, you're just kind of, okay. I mean, I do it personally, of course, because Otherwise, I'd let my mustache. Anyway,
Yeah, you wouldn't have to let any hair grow on your face, is what you're saying. It'd all come out of your nose.
Yeah,
True
I know.
handlebars.
We've all seen people where they've got either the bush growing out of their ears or whatever.
Yep.
So I actually try to keep that grooming maintained. But I have never had anybody besides this guy trim nose hair at the barber.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. Apparently your barber does that too.
Yes. He doesn't use scissors though. He has another little electric tool with the blade on the end and
hedge trimmer.
Yeah, hedge trimmer. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a massive nose, and so I can.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too.
No, yours seems tiny.
Well, it's just because of the video. The video takes 5 inches off your nose.
Remove 10 pounds from your nose.
Yeah.
Yes. So the nose trimmer guy. That was great. So you use a tool, one of those little circular.
No, I had the circular one, the circular hedge trimmer. Yeah. It didn't work that great. So this one is actually, it's like a little, I've seen them on TV. People use, and they.
Hand drill?
A what drill?
A hand drill.
A hand drill. Yeah. It's an auger.
Nice.
Only the gas powered auger though. I don't. The electric dies on me too quick, and that hand stuff. It's like
what are you doing there? Just trimming my nose here, babe. Be out in a minute.
Oh, that's the nice thing about the gas trimmer, though. My wife knows when that's happening, so she stays far away.
Does she?
You can hear the motor. Yep.
Well, I know he's not mowing the lawn.
Oh, absolutely.
So, speaking of mowing the lawn, it is warming up.
It's
feeling like springtime, even though I'm not as far south as you are.
You know, it's actually warmer if I look at the weather in some areas north of us than it is where we are, but it is still nice and warm, which this is going to sound weird, but it's actually a nice thing that's happening now. So we have a little bit of nice weather to help with the storm cleanup, which is still going on and will for a while. I drove through it on the way out of town for work, and whoo, I mean, only so much that you can see on the TV. And I just went through a fraction of it because I was going up the freeway. But wow, incredible, because I know these buildings and I've known them for a long time, and they're just not there anymore. Half of them are gone, like literally cut in half. So, but this is good weather for the volunteers. It's good weather for those who have to clean up. And
so what is it? What's your temperature and weather today?
It's been in the 60s, so mid 60s, mid to high 60s, and it's been for the last few days.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, but the rain is coming again, and I feel bad for people, but hopefully it's just rain.
Yeah,
nothing major.
Well, you guys, I mean, you don't necessarily get a bunch of horrendous storms like that. I mean, we're not Oklahoma,
right,
or anything, but we're known for some upper Midwest storms in the springtime, and but I was in Houston, and they had tornado warnings on New Year's Eve one year.
Oh wow!
And you think normally, for you guys and for us, well, that's unheard of because it's cold, and so it varies depending upon where you are. But it was quite a storm in Nashville.
Yeah, it was a bad storm. We do get some doozies, but and I would say, I think I saw not a meme. It was because it wasn't funny, but someone was posting on Twitter and then on Facebook. They were kind of sort of making fun of what we call 5 Points, which is in East Nashville, which pretty much doesn't exist right now. And actually, we were watching some video, and it was going over the neighborhood, part of 5 Points, where they have the Tomato Festival every year. And you've seen pictures of Peyton on my Instagram from Tomato Festival when she painted or colored her hair red and stuff.
Yep.
There's an ice cream place right on the corner. And I saw it. I'm like, Peyton, because she couldn't quite grasp where it was because she doesn't have that spatial awareness. And I said, Peyton, that's the part of town we had the Tomato Festival in. See that house? That's the music store, which was still standing. There's the hot dog stand, which is literally a VW bus that sits in a parking lot with a cover over it, which was still standing. And then right next to both of those is the ice cream parlor that's completely gone.
Wow.
And she was like, oh my goodness, ice cream is gone. It was, yeah, it was cute, but sad at the same
Yeah,
time.
of course, of course.
But anyway, so this picture that everyone was posting was lines of tornadoes that have gone through history. And I think one was in the late 60s, one was in the 80s or 90s. No, maybe it was one in the 80s, one in the 90s, and then these. I don't remember the exact, but they were very similar paths, but they were all crossing. So this one was a big one. This was probably the biggest, and it went right through 5 Points. Then one from the 90, I think it was 94, went right through that. They met right at 5 Points. And then
Wow.
another one came through that was just a little bit more south going north, and it went right through, and it intersected right at 5 Points, which
Wow.
was pretty incredible. So this person that put it up, the one I read was, what did 5 Points do to Mother Nature?
Yeah. Wow.
Anyone else tell that this is going, all of these storms have 5 Points in common?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and that was true of a little town in southern Wisconsin, Monroe, Wisconsin. It used to be kind of a mini tornado alley, and every 2 or 3 years, it seemed like these rather large tornadoes would come through, and like in the same valley, the same area, and
Wow.
yeah, it gets to be pretty scary when you think about that stuff happening consistently. Happily, it doesn't happen often. If
Right.
you've ever seen a post-tornado zone, it's just some of it is just amazing because you've got. I mean, I've seen them where there's a little town called Barneveld that was essentially completely destroyed about 30 years ago in Wisconsin, and the only thing left standing was the water tower, and it was kind of one of those flared out at the top, one of those types of water towers, and it
Yeah.
was just so eerie looking because everything around it was decimated, and this water tower was standing like all alone. But on the way there, we saw trees in woods just bent over in the direction that the tornado was going, so you could actually see the path through the woods as it was heading toward the town. It was pretty
Oh, it's
pretty
crazy.
amazing. Yeah, pretty amazing.
So
So
I was
hope
watching
it doesn't happen.
YouTube, and that's where we were seeing a lot of this video from, and it was a Canadian uh, group that was talking about it, and they were talking, and they made a really interesting point, which, excuse me, when I was in a different area, so I wasn't traveling up in the Midwest, up in Kentucky. I was actually traveling a lot in Mississippi and Birmingham, or not Birmingham. Well, yes, Birmingham, but all of Alabama. And there were a lot of places in Alabama that I would pass that had been hit constantly with tornadoes. But as they were pointing out, most of the tornado damage we hear about is rural. We rarely ever hear about it hitting a city. And that's why this is
Mhm.
making so much more,
That's
or it
true.
makes it more newsworthy, I guess. Maybe not, but in
Yeah,
most people's minds, because it's hitting a high population area. And
that's
that's why
true.
Nashville is still getting more of the news coverage versus Cookeville, which is 90 miles away, that got hit by a bigger tornado, and there was twice as much destruction, and most of the deaths came from.
Really.
Yeah.
So it's just because of the unusual aspect of it being a major city.
Yes.
And that is, that is interesting. The other part that surprises me, I guess, and I haven't looked at houses in Nashville, but there are not as many basements the further south you go,
Correct.
and I'm
That is
surprised by that.
because we sit on, I think it's limestone or granite. It's either limestone or granite. We sit on rock, so
Okay.
you can't go very far down without hitting rock, and the only way to have a basement is to blast, and
Hmm.
it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people to blast.
But that's just you. That's just Nashville, right?
That's
So
just Nashville. Yep.
that's not everywhere.
No, if you
Any.
go, it's pretty much Nashville proper, and if you go down into Williamson County, you'll
Mhm.
still there are some houses with basements, but they're not full
Yeah.
basements. My house, the one I had in Dixon, which is west going towards Memphis, we had a full basement,
Mhm.
but and everyone in the town did. But yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
don't have a basement in Nashville, no,
Yeah.
because I mean, if you look at our backyard, you can actually see the rock in the ground.
Hmm.
It's
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, it's that's where I though kind of draw the line when we look at houses. I want a basement,
oh
and
yeah,
not just for protection from storms and things like that, although it certainly comes in handy. of course, in my current basement, I have a bar. So,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
makes it
it's
very handy.
not a bad thing. Well, just in case we might have tornadoes. Hey, it's 4 below 0. Yeah, well, we should be safe though. Just go to the bar. Um, so, but I love it in the summertime too when
Yeah,
it's
because
so
it's nice
hot.
and cool. Yeah.
Oh, they're always
Yep.
cool in the summer. So anyway,
And
that's
the
the other
interesting thing is in Minnesota, we grew up and we always had basements, right? Except for the house that I lived in when we went to high school because we were right next to the Mississippi, so you couldn't dig down deep.
Yeah.
Uh, and this particular house, our neighbors all had basements because they were up higher on hills, but we were
Mhm.
down and the water table was too high, so we couldn't have a basement. So we lived in a slab house. But
Yeah. Yeah.
and my only other tornado story, they were I don't know, no one could actually tell us if it was a tornado, if it was just straight line winds. But do you remember the old I think it's Burnett Senior Classic that they held in Minnesota every year, the senior PGA golf tournament?
Oh, no.
Wow, John. Wow. It was a fairly big, and I don't know if they still have it, but they had it every year. And this was my senior year of high school, I think. Yeah, it was my senior year of high school. And we had gone to the golf course there for dinner right before the tournament opened. So they were in the process of setting up all the stands, all the metal
Yep.
stands on hole 18 and hole 9. And so we're in there, and it's like the last week you could go have dinner at the club before they shut it down for the whole tournament for the next 2 weeks. And there was a tornado warning, but the clubhouse, and where the restaurant is, the whole two sides of the building is solid glass, so you can look out on the golf course. And we watched, and it was middle of summer, and we watched as the storm rolled in, and I've never seen anything so strange.
Mm.
It was completely black, almost like it was midnight.
Yeah.
Then it turned a hue of green, and then the hail started coming down, and we said, "All hail." We all ran into the basement. And so we were in the basement of this clubhouse and just sitting there, and it was a good time. You know, the adults were all having cocktails, and they were still serving us food down in the hallway in the basement, and and then we came out, and it was like someone picked up these metal stands, and just crumpled them up like a piece of paper, and then just dropped.
Wow.
And that's how picked them up,
Wow.
and all the trees were down on the golf course. It was incredible. And then as we were driving home, just all the damage everywhere was,
Yeah.
and
What was the time lapse from when you went down to the basement and when you went out to
it was
look?
probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and the sky
Okay.
was clear after that.
And did you hear? I mean, could you
Oh, it
hear?
sounded like a freight train.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Sounded like a
But
freight train.
you didn't. Did you hear any of the stands
No,
being tossed about or
nope.
anything like that? Wow.
Yeah. No, didn't hear any
Amazing.
of that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Had no idea what was happening on the outside.
We were in one. We later learned it was a tornado. When I was a kid, visiting my uncle, and we were in an old 1959 Chevy Impala, which is one of the coolest old cars because it
It
had
really is.
the horizontal fins
Yep.
rather than the vertical fins, and it was just a sweet looking car. Um, and we knew the storm was coming in, and my mom and dad decided, well, let's see if we can outrun it and get home before the storm hits, because I want to say that my uncle's house had no basement in a little town in Wisconsin. So we got in the
Which is odd for a house in Wisconsin. Most Wisconsin houses have basements.
far and away, most of them do. And I think it was probably, I don't think it was a big house. I think it was, kind of a minimalist place, if I remember my Uncle Sam. Yes, my Uncle Sam. But we were in the car, and finally Dad had to pull over, and the sirens were going off and are going on. Why did we say that?
I
Oh,
don't
that
know. That's a
siren
really
went
good
off.
question. Yeah, the siren
Well,
went
if it
off.
went off, how did you hear it?
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
went on. So the siren blew, and we we just huddled down in the car, and man, that big old boat was like going from side to side. And 4 kids. How many kids? One, two. I guess all 5 of us were there, and yeah, screaming and I'm
Oh,
sure some
that's
praying and all that, but his come
crazy.
through unscathed. It was pretty scary though. That was the
That
only one I've really.
I think that's the memory similar to that Peyton will take from this whole experience because still think she's old enough, but I don't think she's quite grasping what's going on because
Mhm,
we're not driving through the
mhm.
bad parts, right? We're she at school has to they're doing some they're helping out by building lunch kits and stuff like that, but they're not leaving the
Cool.
school to go and
Yeah.
volunteer. But the one picture that she saw was a car that had been picked up and thrown and was sticking out of the third floor of an apartment building.
Oh wow.
And that's the one she keeps talking about.
Yeah.
Is that every time she sees a building, is that the building with the car on the third floor?
You're right. That probably will stick with her for a while, and it's actually good. I think that you showed her the ice cream place that she was familiar with. That these it you take it pretty seriously
You
when
do.
it's something that you know and can actually identify having been there before. So
Right.
I think that's good. I think they need to be not fearful, but certainly mindful of how
Right.
powerful these
Yeah, you
storms can
can't
be.
be like most Minnesotans, and I'm sure most Wisconsinites growing up, where it's, oh,
They
there's a
go up.
tornado. We're not going into the basement. We're going to go look.
That was my dad too. He'd go out. We're all huddled down in the basement because my mom had us, down there as kids, and he'd go, "Well, let me go take a look at this thing."
Keeping in mind there is a little bit of a difference, not much. If it's a
Yeah,
tornado that's happening during the day, Wisconsin and Minnesota is flat enough where you're
sure.
going to see it a long
You
way
see it
off,
coming. Well, depending upon where you
depending
are.
upon where you are. I
Yeah,
mean, there are
Illinois.
different factors
In
every single
Illinois, you could see it coming from 70 miles away. Oh, it just cleared the Rockies. You stand on your tiptoes, you can actually see the
Yeah,
foothills.
yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
kidding, but it's close like
No,
that.
it is. It absolutely is. My house that I lived in when I was in high school, we wouldn't do that because we couldn't see because it was down in a valley,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but you go to the end of the street in the farmhouse that was at the end of the street, and yeah, you
Mhm.
could sit up there all day and just watch it coming.
See everything. Yeah. Well, interestingly, my dad was a lineman for the Wisconsin Power and Light Company. So
A lineman, meaning he went and fixed the lines. He did not play football.
that's correct. That's good. When I said Wisconsin Power and Light, I figured you'd get that. Yeah, he went
I got
about
it.
five, five
Our
seven and
listeners.
maybe 160 pounds. So he was not a lineman of any other sorts. Yes. But unlike me being somewhat larger, I guess I take after my mom's side of the family. He, though, would have to go out and do repairs after these storms came through. So anytime there was a storm of any consequence, and it was ridiculous because people would call us, the local guy, and our phone would just ring off the
Oh,
hook. People saying, "Does Ed know the power's out?" Well, let's see. It's been out for 7 hours, and he's been gone since. So he probably knows. People, does Ed know? No, no, he's been sleeping for the last 6 hours, and anyway, we get 75
yeah,
calls just to let Dad know that the power was out.
right.
But he'd climb these poles. I mean, the old school way with the spike things on your feet.
Oh, fun.
Well, before they probably had one or two cherry pickers, but not really anything back then.
Right.
But anyway, and I've tried those on poles, so I know that it's not awesome.
It's a good workout.
Yeah, but anyway, for sure, yeah, I'm sure it was a good workout. But yeah, so he would have to go and take care of that stuff after all the storms. But yeah, the phone would just ring
It's
off the hook.
it's amazing the type of questions you get. And, John, we get questions like that about making a podcast. And I like to tell people, and you can find it in our show notes too, if you want to start your own podcast and maybe even talk about the tornadoes, because I haven't heard very much in the
Mm,
podcast front about the tornadoes that have hit Nashville or anywhere else. But if you go into our show notes right now, you can actually sign up with Buzzsprout, who is the aggregator that we use,
mhm.
and you could get a $20 gift card if you sign up for a paid plan. So
You're so
head down
smart.
to our affiliate links, or the affiliate
On the
link in
website,
our show notes.
PoddiMouths.com.
Yep, or the affiliate links on PoddiMouths.com. Exactly,
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
So we'd really appreciate it, and you know, build that podcast instead of calling us and asking us silly questions about podcasting.
Then we'll call you and ask you silly questions.
Exactly.
How do you build your podcast?
Exactly.
How do you get more than 2 listeners?
We don't know.
We have no
Once we
idea.
figure that out, we'll let you know.
But we have 2 awesome listeners.
We do have 2 fantastic. No, that's not true. We have at least 4.
We do, and we're delighted.
We're doubling every year.
And that's a good message for our listeners. Remember the rule of thumb. If you like what we're doing, tell one person.
Yeah, just let one person know. Exactly. And you know what I have seen, though? Facebook tells us when someone either forwards our information from Facebook or Instagram.
Yep.
And we've had several people do that, and I want to thank them. That really does help. If you're sharing our episodes with other people that you really, and letting them know that you really enjoy it, if you really enjoy it, I hope you do. If you're sharing it, I mean, they could be sharing it with the IRS going, these guys suck, go audit them.
Or you could say, my friend Bob, I hate that guy. I'm going to make him listen to PoddiMouths.
That's right. That's right. But we really do appreciate you getting the word out there, because there is no bad publicity.
Nope. Well,
if you saw a picture of my face, that might be bad publicity.
No, not with that awesome haircut by Nick.
Right. This is the Coif by Cubic.
Wow. There's your barbershop.
Coifs by Cubic.
That's what you have. Yeah, but you got to spell it with a K. Kwaff.
Yeah.
I never paid attention in school.
Did you? I never did. That's why that's why I started a podcast to teach other people. So anyway, we were talking about basements and tornadoes and things like that. The one story I want to leave, and then maybe we'll either move on or we can end it if you feel so inclined. But I was driving home to St. Louis from Minnesota once, and one other place, I don't know if you know this, that's a lot more flat than Minnesota or Wisconsin that you drive through when you're driving from Minneapolis to St. Louis is Illinois. Well, you could drive through Iowa, but there's actually no direct route. It takes longer. But but
you get to go by Red Wing, which is awesome.
I love Red Wing. It's beautiful. Yes. Yep. My stepbrother used to live in Dubuque, and I would drive from St. Louis up to Dubuque, and a similar type of thing. It's very nice. Anyway, so when I'm driving home, it's at night, and there was a storm off in the distance, and lightning was flashing. And then there were a couple of lightning flashes, and it had to be probably 50, 60 miles away, but you could see a funnel. You could see an actual tornado touching the ground. It reminded me of Twister when they show that tornado off in the distance, and you see it when it flashes. That's what it looked like. But of course, I wasn't worried about it because it was so far away. It's like, if it's not even raining or hailing here, if it gets here, then I'll, change my path. But it was one of the most beautiful things. No, it was at night.
Oh, okay. So you could see it
through the lightning.
Nighttime. Yeah. Wow.
It was crazy.
See, that would be, and Indiana, much of Indiana is like that as well.
Yes.
And Indiana is kind of interesting because a lot of it is, it's not unlike Phoenix or Mesa, that Arizona, that are divided in like just blocks.
Yeah.
And it's, like 1 mile squares. And that's kind of what it's like in Indiana. I mean, you can go, and if you need to go north and you're going west, you just turn right and you go, okay, that's probably far enough. And then you turn left and you're going west again, and it's all squared off like that, which makes it interesting. But you could see storms, and I never saw a tornado, but storms rolling in. And man, some were really impressive when you saw them from a distance. But yeah, you could outrun them easily in a vehicle because they were so far away.
It was also really cool growing up with Pilot Parent. Not Parent Pilot. No, Parent Pilot, not Pilot Parent. You know what I mean. Wow. They weren't hovering over me. We were actually in an airplane. All right.
You actually flew planes.
We actually flew planes, and seeing storms off in a distance when you're at 3,000 or 4,000 feet. That's a pretty cool experience too. Now I'm just staring at John because he was totally blowing his nose.
Well, so what? At least I muted the mic. You're going, okay, why is there dead silence now? Because John has to click his microphone back on.
That's right.
They have a cough button at radio stations. I have a nose blowing button.
Yeah. I do too. Do I have it on the setup?
A big schnoz with an
I need to put a picture up. I sent John a picture of my whole setup here today in my hotel room. It's
It's fabulous.
it's pretty epic.
Yeah, it is pretty epic. You put it together nicely.
I put everything together nicely. I'm just put together.
Mm, well, let's not take it that far. Hey, so you know it is springtime.
It is springtime. So we've been talking about spring storms.
Hey, everybody talking tornadoes. It's springtime. I mean, you have to
That was
suddenly think
good. You
tornadoes.
should have your own podcast because you have a radio
No,
voice.
should not. Yeah, people would get tired of that. Most notably me, very quickly.
Yeah.
But I watched the Harley yesterday.
You did.
It was 50. I want to say 58 or 59 degrees, and it was. The Harley was a mess sitting in the garage. I had not had it out since Christmas Day.
Wow.
And it was, yeah, I don't know what it was probably 50, I think, Christmas Day. And we took it out for a spin. Went probably, I don't know, 40 miles or something like that. And yesterday I didn't ride it far, but man, it was just so nice to get out again. And we still have snow on the ground, so that seems weird.
Yeah, but still kind of fun.
Oh, it was great fun, and it really was temperature-wise. It was great. So I just blasted through town and
50
went out in the country a little bit.
50 degrees when I was growing up, 50 degrees was cause for the top to come down on the Jeep.
Oh, I thought you meant on the neighbor girl.
That too. Who do you think was riding in the Jeep with me?
You want to go topless? No, I meant on the Jeep. Put that back on.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can relate. The interesting though, and Harley's a little bit different because if it's raining outside, you're probably not, unless you run into a rainstorm, you're probably not taking it out. But so I have my new car and it is jet black, and
Yes.
I love it, but I have always been against buying black cars. It was too good a deal not to actually worry about it. But one of the reasons is because in the spring we get all of the pollen and we get all of the dirt and it rains and storms a lot. And because I live on the road, I don't have it garaged all the time. It's filthy right now. And I've only had it a few weeks and it is absolutely filthy, but I won't take it to the car wash right now or wash it by hand because what's going to happen tomorrow? It's sunny. It's not sunny right now, but it was sunny today. Tomorrow, it's going to be 100% chance of rain.
Well, it is, but you got to kind of play that stuff by ear. And I say that as the owner of a black truck. So I just think when they're clean, they look great. I'm pretty picky about keeping it clean, but there are times when it just looks like crap. And that's, it's a trade-off.
It is. I mean, black, I think, is one of the most beautiful colored cars.
Yeah, when they're clean.
It's just hard to keep them clean.
So everybody listening, weigh in. Tell us favorite color cars or and it doesn't even have to be that. What color you usually end up with?
Blue.
Because I'm kind of a creature of habit.
Are you? What color do you usually get?
Well, it's either white or black usually.
Okay.
I've had some gray or silver before. Now Lisa's got it's like a really deep green car, and that would never be my first choice.
Right.
But we've owned a couple of them over the time. So if listeners, let us know if you have a favorite color and what that is all about for you. If it's about keeping it clean, or some people like the gray or the beiges because they look cleaner longer.
Right.
There's an argument for that, but is it really clean? I like having them clean.
Me too. I do too. I'm pretty anal about it. So when summer comes around and it doesn't rain as much, that thing will be washed weekly, if not twice a week.
Sure, me too.
Right.
And
my favorite color combination I love, and I have this car driving game on my phone, so when I get super bored and you can change the colors. I love blue cars with red calipers.
Nice. I love the red calipers.
I think that's hot. Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yep.
All right, mister. We've done well today.
We do well every day, just not on the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, Johnny boy, the pipes are calling.
The pipes are calling. Indeed, they are. You, sir, are a good man. Thank you for taking the time today, and everybody listening, make sure you get out to PoddiMouths.com. We have not only some great affiliates out there we'd like you to check out, but also we've got links to all of our social media accounts, and you can check them out there. And you don't even have to listen to us anymore saying what they are, like Mouths Poddy.
Right. We are so famous and so popular right now. People automatically know.
I'm not sure that's true, but
I'm just going to live in my delusion. All right.
Okay, that's fine. What I will say is you're absolutely right. We're very famous.
Yes. In my own head.
Yes.
That's right, John. PoddiMouths.com, social media. And we be out.
See ya.